Welcome to the Logistics Point interviews. Today, I'm joined by Javid, Sandra, who is the Senior Product Manager at Vision Direct, as well as the Director of Supply Chain, Steph Davis. Thank you very much for thank you both for joining me today. And we're going to talk about not only what Vision Direct does in warehousing and supply chain, but how you actually implemented the technology in an ERP system to try and improve your operations. Um, and I think I want to start with Steph. Steph, can you tell us what are the challenges that you face in the warehouse?
So I think like a lot of fast-moving consumer goods, the most important area of success for our business is price and availability. And when I say availability, actually the speed of the fulfillment from a customer ordering to getting the product. We don't make and manufacture our own products, or we do have a small section of own brand products, but basically customers are coming to us for products from manufacturers which are very well known. And so they're after fast availability across a really wide array of SKUs. So the main challenges are keeping inventory right, because the switching costs are very low. If you come for a particular type of contact lens from one of the main manufacturers and we don't have it, that you can see straight away on the website that we don't have it, and they'll go to one of the competitors. But also, if they do come to it and we do have it, then price is probably the first main consideration, but the second one is availability and how quickly you can get the product. So the challenges that we have in the warehouse are to make sure that the product is all there, all readily available and pickable very quickly, and then we've got the network to get it out to the customer as fast as possible. So they're the main factors for success.
And Javid, how about what do you think was the place of technology specifically in there? Why should companies who deal with customers all the time in retail, why should they look in technology to solve their problems?
Big question. I guess it's all about automation. It's all about having the right information in the right places where it's needed, and letting systems do work that humans shouldn't really need to do. I mean, processing an order, really a human shouldn't need to get involved until you have to physically go and pick a product and package it and get it out the door. I mean, some companies even get the packaging automated by bots and whatever. We're not at that stage yet, but it's all about getting orders in, processing them, getting them out the door as fast and as efficiently as possible, and accurately as possible as well, because that's the massive factor. And I guess when you've got startup companies or emerging companies, I think this is the kind of thing that you grow exponentially, you grow very quickly when you're successful. So you can start off with an operation which, I mean, I've seen companies that are just handling all this on spreadsheets and the rest of it, because that's how they start out. And maybe they have small bits of software that do certain things, and you soon find that when your capacity grows, you go from 1,000 orders to 5,000 orders, and you suddenly find, whoa, wait a minute, what was working for 1,000 orders is not working anymore. We're getting bottlenecks here, bottlenecks there. We're getting whatever CPU overuse. We're getting backlogs here, APIs overuse. All sorts of things can happen, and I think that's where we've definitely got a lot of experience. Vision Direct is, I wouldn't say notorious, but it has grown massively over the last 5-10 years. So what we've put in place some years ago, we've had to quickly, get rid of a lot of technical debt, make it more efficient, make it more performant, and just try and handle those bigger numbers, because that's where the real challenges come.
And when we're talking about supply chain and ERP, do you think that there is somehow companies do not necessarily understand what is the value of systems like that?
Possibly, yeah. These systems can be costly, and it can be overwhelming. I'm sure there's lots of ERP solutions out there. We famously call our system an ERP system. It isn't. It's a bit of software that kind of does some processing and stuff. I mean, an ERP by nature should have a lot more than what we have. But what it does is very similar to an ERP. So we've built it from scratch, and that's probably not advisable. But it also offers us a unique position in that because we've built it, we can change it quickly, we can adapt it quickly. We're not sort of pigeonholed into certain ways and certain sort of these big software off the shelf systems. There's a lot of it you can't change because that's just how it is. Whereas what we can do is really adapt it to whatever the business requirement is, and we get some weird and wonderful requirements from Steph and the rest of the business, like things that you couldn't envision when you started, because business requirements change, businesses adapt, and this is what we're working in an agile way, and I think that is the real value, I think, in having systems that, like we have with Mendix. You can adapt to what the business needs, and you can make it more efficient and performant where needed.
Join us on the 8th of March online to talk about micro-fulfilment and warehouse automation. Speakers include Vercelli, Pfizer, Cranfield School of Management, Mango Logistics, and more. Learn how urban locations are transforming to become storage facilities, the power of automation in the warehouse, and the cost of new projects. Don't miss this free online event. Register now.
And Steph, just the word requirements were mentioned from the supply chain side. Can you just share a bit of what were the requirements that you think directors of supply chain should have?
Yeah, I mean, it's an impossibly wide question to answer in some regards, because it depends on what kind of business that you're running. From my perspective, so I've been in Vision Direct for about 3 years. The difference in Mendix, and I've worked at some bigger businesses, Nike, Amazon, some of those other businesses that are very fast in their growth, and they move on the technology very quickly. Having this system for the first time ever actually enables you to sit there and work through situations in real time during the week, submit requests into the ERP team, into Javid and his team of developers, and actually in a lot of ways get a working solution within a week or 2 weeks, which is kind of unheard of in my career. There's lots of other businesses that move fast, but nothing that moves as quick. So I mean, I could give you a few examples from, simple. We get a lot of we do a lot of purchase orders with a lot of businesses, and they're split up into a lot of different deliveries over one purchase order. So the first thing when I came into the business that I noticed is that that work was going on to our administrators to effectively get the shipping notes from the suppliers and split all of these orders up. This is a very simple thing that we changed. But one of the first things we did is ask the ERP team to provide templates that we could send out to the suppliers to effectively self-serve, so they can see the whole purchase order and they can split up the orders themselves. They then give it back to my team, who do a sense check and then just upload it. That was the very first change that I think Javid's team got done within a few days, right the way through to a recent change that we've done, which is how we communicate with our customers when manufacturers are advising that product is going to be late. So we've automated a lot of that work now, even into automated emails that go out to the manufacturers to say, hey, this is going to be late. You need to click through and tell us how late it's going to be. There are just 2 examples off the top of my head that we came up with kind of a prospective solution to go to Javid and his team just as we were working through. And that's the difference that I think having a bespoke system allows you to do.
And for both of you, how hard was actually because all of these requires to train people to communicate this change, how hard was this process, Javid, for you?
Well, I think the way, we're coming back to Mendix again here, but Mendix is a very simple user interface, and anything that we do, we don't need to spend a lot of time on how it looks, because there's just very simple out of the box things to, simple tables, simple things that these guys are familiar with. So anything new that they want, it's very easy to just drop them into new sort of interfaces that work really well for them. And what's also really cool is we can demonstrate it to them, and they can give us feedback like, I can put that button over there, can we do this, can we do that, and we can go away and do it quite quickly. So training is something that we kind of just do via demos and things. I mean, once we have a new feature, we'll demo it to these guys, and they generally just run with it. Once it's passed all of its acceptance testing and the rest of it, we are here for support. But normally these guys pick it up pretty fast. I mean, we don't have any particular training process, do we, Steph? It's more, we can document things and sort of basically demo them over calls or over video calls, and then they just run with it. And I think a trap that we fell into maybe 4 or 5 years ago was trying to document all this stuff online and have, even video guides. I remember doing some video guides some years ago, and because we adapt so much and so fast, they quickly become outdated. So you just end up in a vicious circle of consistently changing your documentation, updating videos, and when it's out of date, it's useless. In so much as just changing the graphical style of the application. We've done that a few times, and once things look different, even though they technically aren't different, users get confused. So yeah, documentation's great, but it can also be a drawback. It can be a trap as well. So we try and self-document in the system and have it as user-friendly as possible. Make buttons clear. When you click it tells you what it will do and the rest of it. And that's the best way to go, because screenshots, videos, whatever static documentation online, it soon very quickly becomes outdated when you move as fast as we do.
And finally, for Steph, what would be your prediction for the supply chain moving forward into 2022 and maybe even a bit further? Do you expect that we will have the same problems we had during the last 2 years?
No, because I think that people are more aware of the challenges now, aren't they? Moving products in between different countries, and the issues that we had with Brexit were a particular challenge for us. When the agreement happened, and COVID was a challenge for everybody in terms of, forecasting, not forecasting enough, dialing down your production, then getting hit with the whole world open back up again. So hopefully people are a little bit more aware of the challenges that we might be facing. I think technology from our side and Javid's team have allowed us to react quicker. There was a couple of challenges that we had with Brexit in terms of how we move product around, and that involves a very fast deep dive into the issue and a really, really quick technological solution that we put in that allowed us to go from it being a disaster in the first week to actually almost business as usual by the time we got through the end of January last year, I think. So I think if businesses are like us, then they're looking at the tech stacks that they've got, and they're saying what works, what doesn't work, how their forecasting systems knit into the rest of their business, and they're making the changes as quickly as possible. So I would expect things would be a little bit smoother in 2022.
Well, thank you very much both for your time, and for everyone watching, you can find a bit more information in the description down below. Thank you very much.